today we have two young ladies, right? And these two young ladies have seen the coronavirus from really close quarters. And one of them has been somebody who got affected or rather tested positive for corona. And the other one, the youngest in the family rather, and she has had to step up and take the role of a caregiver. And I say she had to step up because in the entire family, she's the only one who was not, corona positive. Thank God for that, right? So we have these two young ladies, Pooria, the elder one, who actually got affected by corona and she had to live through it, the whole daunting experience of it. Hi, Pooria, welcome on the show.
Hello.
And then we have Nayantara, the youngest of the family, the baby of the family who suddenly had to become the caregiver and suddenly boss over everybody and take care of everybody, whether it was her elder sister or her parents, because the entire family had tested corona positive, and Nayantara luckily was the only one who was not. Right. So to take this introduction a little further, these two young ladies, very brave, no doubt about it, and rather adventurous. They've been to biking trips. Pooria especially is into biking. She does blogging, and Nayantara has been one of the youngest ones to reach the base camp of the Everest. And I think all those things also have added to the personality of the girls and how they dealt with the whole daunting situation of facing the corona. So today, these two young ladies will tell us about their experiences as to what happened, how they dealt with it, and how they were able to come out of it. Right. So straight away, let's go into the topic. And Pooria, my first question would be to you. And I am aware that you had gone for a biking trip. You came back only to realize that your dad was corona positive, and eventually you also became corona positive. So I would like us to know what the situation was like from your perspective.
It was not easy. I mean, I was away from my house only to come back to know that my father was unwell and eventually tested positive for COVID.
Mhm.
Uh, I was panicked a little, but you know, took it in the right stride. Like just dealt with it positively. Always was positive about getting back to normal as soon as possible.
Awesome. That's nice. So yeah, I can understand it must have been rather daunting to have your parents suddenly, coming and saying, "Hey, they're corona positive." So right. So that was your perspective. Now I'd like to know from Nayantara. So sweetheart, how did you cope with it, and what was the situation like for you?
Well, one day, like on about 16th or 17th, dad came home with a high fever and
Mm-hmm.
he thought he's tested positive. So he asked us to stay away from him. And the same night, Pooja returned from her trip and she also actually came in contact with dad and had high fever the same night.
Oh,
And around 2 to 3 days later, dad tested positive, and maybe 2 or 3 days later that he was hospitalized, and eventually mom also tested positive and Pooria also tested positive. So yes, all the three were positive, COVID positive, and I was the only one negative.
So yeah, so now that you said that, all of you got COVID positive, one after the other, except for Nayantara. I have a question to start with you, Nayantara. So how do you handle this entire situation?
Basically, I didn't have time to even sit and think about it because we had our grandparents home, and my grandfather was bedridden, and so we had to first send them to our uncle's place, and then I didn't think much about it. Just handled everything, like just took action, immediate action, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sanitizing and taking precautions, wearing masks, and like
Mm-hmm.
locked dad in the other room.
Right, right. Okay. That was quite brave of you, I must say, that you managed to do all of that. And what about Pooria? I mean, how did you take it on? What did you do? I know you were not well, but is there something that you did during that time?
Uh, yes. I mean, physically, I couldn't do much because I was confined to my own room as I was positive. But there used to be instances, when I used to call her and talk to her, saying, "You're doing a good job," like just keep doing it, keep being our strength, so that, we know we have a person to fall back on, at this weak moment of ours. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I was talking to my family members and my mother. Uh, she was with me
Mm-hmm.
in my room, so we were
Mm-hmm.
talking, and talking to her on the phone, talking to Nayantara on the phone, talking to the family members, and just taking everything in a right spirit and having a very positive mindset of everything.
So, Nantara, my question is, you must have been handling a whole lot of things, right? For example,
Yeah.
Pooria was positive and she only had to take care of herself. She needed to be upbeat, she needed to, keep herself hydrated, she had to be fed nutritiously, so on and so forth. So she was essentially taking care of herself. But you being on the other side of the door, you must have had a lot of things to take care of. So can you just tell us what all you were doing?
Mostly, first is managing the food because doctor said you cannot cook at home because you have three infected
Ah,
patients. So, managing the delivery and what food mom, dad, and Pooria want to eat through phone calls and the help of a driver with my aunt. So she used to cook food. The driver, I send the driver to get the food, and then he gets the food at home. I have to pack the food and send it to the hospital for dad because dad was hospitalized 2 days after he tested positive. And then I used to sanitize and clean the house twice or thrice a day, and giving liquids, more of liquids, juices and coconut water and medicines to mom and Pooria, and giving fruits and so giving food and fruits fresh, and yeah, taking care of myself too, taking Ayurvedic medicines
Right.
and talking to my grandmom about what
Mm-hmm.
homeopathic and Ayurvedic medicines I should take, so that I don't get positive too. Yeah, so that was basically
right.
what I
So for
did
yeah.
on a daily basis.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I just can't imagine. And Nayantara, you are like 2 or 3 years older than my son, and I just can't fathom the fact that he's going to, pull up his socks and then, start doing all this for the rest of the family members. So that's really commendable. Good to hear that, Nayantara. So I have a question for actually the two of you, Nayantara and Pooria. I mean, what were your coping mechanisms? I mean, you went through a lot, Pooria, since you were affected. You went through a lot in terms of pain and all the problems that you had to deal with. And Nayantara, you had to step up, into the
Yeah.
shoes of your mom and take care of all the three of them, and including yourself, right? So I would like to know, and I'm sure Suma and the rest of us would also like to know, what are your coping mechanisms? How did you cope?
For me, it was basically just to keep myself off the fact that I am unwell. So I did everything to distract myself, and it's just concentrated on keeping my mind game up, uh, talking to my friends, talking to my family, just social media, Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and catching back onto the things that I've left behind, like my art. So I started sketching again, doing my
Right.
art, and
Mm-hmm.
reading. I was reading a couple of books. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was basically it, because I just had to keep my mind off the fact that I was unwell.
Right.
For me,
Yes.
mostly I did things that make me happy, like listening to music and singing, dancing, watching movies. And
Mm-hmm.
though I had very less time to do that, I also like clean my house and listening to music and just going around the house. And while cleaning, I used to sing and dance and clean together
That's
at the
nice.
same time. So just to keep my mind off that. all the three are unwell, and what will I do? I'm just alone, and there's nobody here to help me. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I just never thought about it so much and never stressed
Mm-hmm.
myself out of it. I just kept my
Mm-hmm.
mind like stress free and yeah, happy.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, Pooria,
Sure.
there's a question from one of the audience. He says, what's one quality Nayantara demonstrated throughout the episode? Okay,
Uh,
just wants to know Pooria's perspective about what do you think your
I
sister was doing? What was that one thing that she was demonstrating throughout?
It was solely to deal with strength. I think strength backed up with consistency, because it's an everyday episode for at least 15, 20 days that
So,
it lasted. So it was
right,
strength that
Right.
had her, do all of this.
So while the audience is going to share their responses, I'll share what some of my participants have shared with me as to what their coping mechanisms have been. Some of them love to light these scented candles. I'm sure Puri and Nayantara, you might also have done that sometime in your life. So scented candles is something that really helps people cope with stress and tough situations. Then they also, I know Suma, she does a lot of smudging, which is like lighting essence in the house and getting the smoke all around, the fragrant smoke and essential oils. So yeah, everybody has an. I personally love to listen to soulful music, uplifting music. That's something that I resort to, and that really lifts me up, when I'm going through stressful times. And that reminds me of Shakespeare's, the quote. I'm sure both of you must have heard of it. If the food of love be music, so play on. I think the food, not necessarily of love, but I think of health, of wellness, for everything. I think it's just music. At least for me, it is that way. I don't know about the others. Suma, what about you? What are your coping mechanisms?
like you have actually mentioned quite a few of the things that I do because we keep discussing it so often. I'm sure you know all that. So yes, I do a lot of meditative music I listen to. I'm not very good at meditating, but I listen to a lot of this meditative music, which kind of takes you into a zone of its own. And every time I do that, I
Mm-hmm.
just come out feeling a lot more peaceful and calmer and ready to take on with whatever it is. If I'm feeling little anxious about something, then possibly I just sit down and then just go off into my own prayer space. I'm rather spiritual and not religious, so I just go and pray to the universe. I have my affirmations that I keep going, and sometimes it's more of gratitude. I am so grateful, and honestly, I'm very grateful for all the good things in my life, and all for the not so good things. I always look at them as some lessons that need to be learned. And at my age, we have done a lot of things to cope up and find strength in our own way. But you being at your age, Pooria and Antara, how did you find the strength? I think I'll find the first ask.
It was basically my faith and my confidence in, just uh, my family. Uh, my mom could, get all right. My dad could get all right. I could get all right. It was just that faith that, I had in us that gave me a lot of strength.
Yes, go ahead, Nayantara.
Yeah, my maybe there was one time like when we went on a trek to Everest Base Camp. There was a similar situation like what happened right now during COVID. That I was the only girl left out alone when there were issues with the weather, and I couldn't go back with my friends, my age friends, and all the other girls of a group back to the place where we had to go. So I was left out with our guides and our teacher. So that's when maybe I overcome the fear of being alone or handling my own things on my own. Uh, so yeah, that is one of the things that made me stronger and a little bit fearless. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
talking to my friends, my grandparents, and mostly my family, they were the ones who actually helped me not stress and think about it so much, and going into some sort of depression, or you I can say stress that maybe
Right,
made me sad. Yeah, so friends and
right.
family mostly.
Right. Yes, I can relate to you, Pooria and Nayantara, that friends and family are some of our greatest pillars. And we can ask the viewers as well and those who have tuned in and listening to us as to what are your strengths, that we can share with each other what our strengths are. We have Lekha, as you can see, Nayantara and Pooria. So Lekha has also shared her what she finds as her stress. So at this point, while our audience is sharing their thoughts on what gives them strength and their thoughts on what are their coping mechanisms, just to share with the audience what Unbox is all about. So Unbox is a social initiative of the LND Hyderabad Global Chapter. So basically, Hyderabad Global Chapter is a part of the LND Global, which is across India and other countries as well. We are about 35,000 professionals as members, and in Hyderabad we have about 200 plus professionals. So a group of us came together from this team to do something for the society, and our mission is basically to help elevate youngsters and help them to reduce their strains, and also finally to in some way to prevent suicide. So that's the mission of Unbox, and that's for our viewers. Yes, follow me saying something, Suma.
Yeah, she says, as a COVID warrior myself, I would say more power to you girls. So that's a message that she's giving for Pooria and Nayantara.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
follow
you.
me. So yes, follow me has also gone through COVID herself. So
Yes.
so here I'd like to ask both of you a question. So now that you went through so much, okay, and you've been through this experience, are there any life lessons that you've learned from this entire experience? Pooria and Nentara, any one of you
Yeah.
can go first.
Um, yes, I believe there's nothing that happens to you that not teaches you something. So there is obviously a lot of learning.
Mm-hmm.
One major factor for me was that it's a human tendency to build stories around facts that kind of pull us back into a zone where we panic or where we stress about it, and it because of it we lose importance on the main point, which is the fact. So there is a thin line that you have to understand between what is a fact and a story. So I think concentrating on the fact and then believing that it will bring something positive out of it is very very important for you to at least accept and move forward with it, or with a positive mindset. So I think that, and also to the second thing that I've learned is to cherish what you
Mm-hmm.
have and nurture what you have, because you don't know what might happen when.
Absolutely. Yes. I think not just for you. In fact, I think at a fairly young age, you have figured that out, Pooja, because most of us, I think, at some point in life, we realize it. But then for you, it has been a fairly quick lesson to learn, and
Yes, it
with no
has.
choice whatsoever in that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how about you, Nantara?
Um, the first thing I learned was like the caretaker of the house, mostly our mothers.
Hmm.
Like it's not easy to be a mother, or for me, the person to take care of the whole house alone and all the people living in the house. So like it was like a role reversal with my mom, and
Right.
I knew that it is very hard, like the things mom does and the sacrifices she has done for us. But this was the time that I actually felt it, and I went through a little bit of it, that taking care of the whole house and yourself and the people, and doing everything on your own alone without anybody's help is not easy. So yes, and I actually am proud and respect my mom more, and my grandmom too. So yes.
Lovely.
That's nice.
There's Vandana who says the power of prayer is the power we possess. I would use it as my coping mechanism. So I think Vandana is talking to her about
Okay.
talking to us about her own coping mechanism.
Coping mechanism. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Thank you, Vandana. Yes, prayer. So a lot of people resort to different things, and I think we should find what gives us the solace, right? So it's prayer. Some people I know do a lot of chanting, as Suma said, meditation. So I think we should
yeah,
find that one thing or those two things that we can fall back on as coping mechanisms. Thank you, Vandana, for sharing that.
yeah.
All
In
right.
fact, Sabina, if you just were to go through all the comments, everybody is so
Mhm.
appreciative of the of Pooria and Nayantara. I think
Okay,
because
that's
I think
nice.
as parents, especially Indian parents, we just assume that the children are just children. Never mind their age. They're always babies for us, right? So that's how we tend to look at
Absolutely.
them. And suddenly it's
Absolutely.
an eye opener. I'm sure if I were to talk to Nayantara and Puria's mom and dad, they would also be surprised that suddenly these two girls, how they have grown up, overnight, especially Nayantara, the baby, suddenly how she grew up. So I think we
Yes.
underestimate our children a lot as parents, and these girls have really taught
Yeah.
everybody that it's not so. I mean, the kind of appreciative comments that are coming for the girls, I think that's what it feels.
This reminds me, Suma, I knew that your son was also not well. Even he got affected. So since
Yes.
we lost you there, could you share with us what you went through and how did you cope when your son was affected?
Right. In fact, after listening to Nayantara and Purya, especially after listening to Nayantara, it's a little embarrassing for me to tell you my experience because the moment my son, who's 22 by the way, he started to exhibit the symptoms, and I was running around like a headless chicken. I'm like, how could this happen? Oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, what's happening? And I think again, once again, as a mother, I was reacting more than I was responding for quite some time because I was like running around in a daze. I have no idea what was happening. And that is when my son actually, stepped up and he said, just take it easy. We know what's happening. So we know what the protocol is. First and foremost, you step out of my house and stay, my room and stay away, and then he shut the door and says don't keep coming, and then I was like that overly protective and concerned mother.
Protective. Hmm.
I would take the thermometer and try and run into the room to check his temperature and stuff like that. And the kind of dirty looks he gave me, I'm like, what kind of a crazy mother do I have? Kind of a look, And he said, Mom, you take it easy. And then he just shook me, literally, kind of, verb shook me up and said, just take it easy. Nothing's
Right.
happening. Then he said, okay, you stay
Right.
out of the room and stuff like that. And that's when suddenly I said, okay, fine, this is not helping matters. I need to just, take it easy a little bit and think straight. So for that, it took me a little bit of time to grasp the whole entirety of the situation and say, okay, me being so crazy will not really help because there are things that need to be taken care of. Firstly, because I have a senior citizen mom that lives with me, so I needed to kind of, sanitize the whole place first and quarantine my son in a room and then take care of other things, medication, the tests that needed to be arranged. Somebody needs to come home and, take the blood sample to make sure that it is COVID positive or whatever. So those kind of things, but then to me to get into that mode, it took me some time. So for the longest time,
Hmm.
I felt like I was just didn't know how I was going to cope with it because it was too close home, right? When you're listening
Hmm.
to other people being affected and stuff like that, you're like, "Acha, okay, ha, and all." The moment it hits you in the face, it's really scary, especially COVID being so uncertain. So, like I said,
Right.
it's a little embarrassing when I have to talk about this in front of the two girls, but
No,
well,
but you
that's how
should be
it
a
was.
proud mom that your son was actually the one who kind
Absolutely,
of helped you cope with the situation.
yes.
Okay, great. There's a comment. I can't see the
Yes.
comment, but I think
The
I'll just post
comment
you the
is
comment.
from Shashi. Shashi happens to be Nayan and Purya's father. Nayan has always
Mm-hmm.
been a baby of the family, and Purya was in her
Uh-huh.
zone. And fear always took over her whenever she had to take center stage. Okay, so I think what I'm understanding from what Shashi is saying is that, they have always been a little scared of having the attention on them, and they have overcome that also. Rather, they're fearing, they face that fear and come out on top of it. So I think what we can possibly do is there's so many people who are saying such wonderful things about the girls. Maybe we should just ask the audience if at all they went through something like this, and what they did to cope with it. Whether it was the
Absolutely.
children who had to cope, or whether it was as parents seeing that the child was in trouble, or needed help, and suddenly what are the usual coping mechanisms that anybody might use. This is a question that I'm
Yes.
opening up for the audience, and we'd like to know what they do to cope up with adverse situations like these. What are their coping
And
mechanisms?
Yeah, I think the most recent comment that I can read is of my father, who is Shashi Galada.
okay. Right.
And I'd want to actually put out a message to all the parents, here saying that, build your children in such a way that, they're very independent and, are capable enough to handle whatever life throws at them. That's what my father did, and that's what the rest of the family did, which actually helped us in, taking care of, in whatever situation we are, and, giving us that strength, or, just making sure that, your children know that, you are at their back, and you have their entire support to fall back onto, so that they're
Mm-hmm.
never very scared also to, take up the charge and, go forward in life as an individual. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake, it teaches you
Mm-hmm.
something. So I think that
Absolutely.
Right.
confidence, if parents just, put their children through, I don't think any person in this world, or any child in this world, to their parent would be afraid of, opening up to the parents, or, just handling anything.
All
Nice.
right.
That
I think what I'm gathering from Pooria's, whatever she has said just now is, it's a rather very profound message for the parents actually. From what I
Right.
gather, she's saying is, have faith in your children right from the childhood. Tell them that you've got their back. It's perfectly all right. Go ahead and do it. And, if at all there's a mistake and something happens, we've got you. I think the confidence that the parents, is that what you're saying, Pooria?
Yes, absolutely right.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think that's also very true. And a profound message for most of the parents to understand, like we're saying. And I think Vandana has something to say here. Let's just read it. Having lost my
Yeah.
father to it, I struggle to manifest courage within myself. Of course, we all have our own ways of dealing with it. I resorted to seeking answers on death, whilst it has given me answers of how to live life. So see, adverse
Very
situation, they kind of guide
profound.
you on a path of your own. And here she is trying to understand death, and she says, I got the answers how to live. So rather
Right.
profound, Vandana, and I'm very, very
Very
sorry.
profound.
And all of us are very sorry for your loss. And may you find all the right answers and, have the courage to face it. Thank you for sharing that, Vandana. I'm sure it wasn't easy
Thank
for
you,
you to do that.
Vandana.
And Seema
Thank
says,
you.
what all the skills came handy during your tough time or that you learned earlier? And you feel that it's important for every child of your age and to need to learn. Okay, I think this is the question that Seema is asking the girls. What are the skills that
Hmm.
came in handy for you, during the tough times? So do you think you guys
Right.
can answer that?
Yes,
Because at your
absolutely.
young age to be able to deal with all this, I'm sure there were some skills that you had been over the years developing. So what
Yes.
could they be?
Right.
I think it's going to be an art form, specifically speaking. It is very important for any child to be engaged into any kind of art form. Let it be
Hmm.
music, let it be dance, let it be sketching, anything that can, take your mind off and engross you into it. So that is the only way I think you can let loose a space of your own, uh, where, you can just, vent it out. It it comes like such adverse situations. You need something to just take you into your own zone and let everything out there. So I think an art form would just help you build,
Dive into.
I think that, yeah,
Right.
dive into it. and
Right.
also the right choice of friends, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I think
there are two interesting points. Actually, when you say art form, most of us we understand that as a hobby, and we just don't think that it can add to our personality and add to our psyche and in a lot of ways. So I think that's a good point, because I have also felt, especially of late, Corona has given us plenty of time to do a lot of things. So I was into this mandalas. I don't know how to say mandal. Some people say mandala, some say mandalas.
Yes, yes.
So never mind. So I started to do that, and I find them very, very therapeutic. So especially, in fact, earlier I had forgotten, because this is a newly acquired thing, so it's not on the top of my head most of the time. But that I find is very, very therapeutic. You are faced with something really daunting, so you just take a step back and say, okay, fine, let me just go off into my zone. Whether it is listening to music, or you doing your artwork, or painting, or playing some instrument, it could be anything. And I think also the fact when Pooja talks about art form, that is very important, but most of the time drawing lessons and craft lessons are taken as one of those unnecessary things in school curriculum. I think that's also a different perspective. Suddenly Corona is opening our eyes to a lot of things which we kind of thought were
Yes,
things to be shunned and not looked at. Yeah, so interesting perspective. So
absolutely. I
Sabina,
think
you're also, I know
a
for a
lot of
fact that
people
you're
are
very artistic.
rediscovering.
Yes, and I find that you are also very artistic and you do a lot of things too. So, do you think you could share your experience of delving into art, Sabina?
Yeah, like you mentioned, that a lot of people are rediscovering a lot of things. So I used to sketch and I used to paint. So I got back to sketching and painting. I got back to writing. So yes, I totally agree with what Pooya said. You have to spend some time, because I think the greatest relationship that one can have first is with oneself. Because if that relationship is good, I think we all just fall into place. If you mess up that relationship with yourself, I think there won't be any relationship that will work. So that's very important to ensure that you connect with yourself first. Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Nayantara, what about you? Would you like to share your uh, point of view?
I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't call it as a skill, or
Mm-hmm.
you can I can just call it as a characteristic, or a thing that
Mm-hmm.
comes from within you. Like I wasn't so social, I wasn't good in socializing with people of my age or
Okay.
elder to me. So but
Mm-hmm.
during this corona time last year, it actually corona lockdown, and it helped me getting to know my neighbors in our community,
Okay.
and
Right.
socializing with them and opening up and being making new friends. It actually helped us a lot through our corona uh, time, because
Mm-hmm.
when I got to know them, they were one of the people who actually sent food and talked to me, and sent
Right.
fruits, and their kids actually made cute little cards for mom, dad, and Pooria.
Oh,
So
how
which
sweet.
actually,
How sweet.
yeah, which actually did maybe I don't know about them, but it actually made me happy, and yes, it did give a little ray of hope, or we can say a little happiness, that yes, everything is normal and it is going to be normal soon. So
Right.
yes,
That's
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very nice perspective, Nayantara, because I know kids of your age, you all kind of block off people. Okay,
yeah.
you give out this vibe, stay away from me, and you all are monsters. I don't care for you. But that's such a nice, vulnerable side that you share. That you have been touched, and you appreciate your neighbors, and you appreciate them doing
Yeah.
these little things. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Right. And I think
Okay.
one interesting thing that Pooria said is that, people who we don't even interact with, they can surprise you with being, so helpful and when you really need the help. Because neighbors are the ones who you can reach out to the first, right? Family could be there throughout the city or wherever, but they might take some time. But it's the neighbors who will instantly step up and take charge and help you out. So yeah, I think it's a good
Right.
thing that you have made friends, Nantara, amongst your age group as well as the elders. So that's a fantastic thing. That's a good learning. In fact, I am also one of those kind. I'm also not overtly friendly or whatever. I just stick to my business and don't talk to people. But I think, yeah, Corona has taught us that we're all interdependent. Rather, it has been a reminder that you can't live in your
Right.
own silos. You need to be with people. You need to have the support of each other, the strength from each other. So I have also been,
Absolutely.
understanding my neighbors, getting to know them. So yes, that's been a fantastic experience, and thank you for bringing that up, Nayantara.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Mm.
put too much of a thought to it, but once she mentioned it, I realized, yeah, even I'm doing that. So yes, very
That's
nice.
nice. Yeah. So, do you have any message for our listeners, Pooria and Nayantara? Any tips, two or three tips that you'd like to share with our listeners who are going through tough times like you did, or in general?
I think just to not panic, because that's the first instinct of any human, is to panic.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just being mindful and relaxing and taking your time to understand, and just making a clear picture of the situation, analyzing it, and
Mm-hmm.
acting as to what is required at that time, because clearly panic is something that's not going to help.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, so
Go
I
ahead.
think being very mindful of your actions during that time,
Mm-hmm.
keeping sane and
Okay.
not worrying too much,
Mm-hmm.
and also indulging in something that can get your mind off it, because
Mm-hmm.
being happy and being in the right state of mind, uh, all positive, is the answer to everything.
Right. Right. So, thank
Yeah.
you, Pooria, for those points. Being mindful in terms of action, remaining sane, and keeping your mind off. Thank you for that, Pooria. Nandara, any top three things that you'd like to share? Two or three.
Um, yeah.
As a
So the
caregiver.
first,
Yeah.
yeah, the first thing is that to never give up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as I've seen this in a cartoon movie, that's a Disney movie, Frozen,
Mm-hmm.
that it's the right thing is to do the next right thing. And my school teacher, actually our CEO Chandrasekhar sir, he taught us one thing is that one step at a time actually helps you reach great heights. Yeah, so this is the first thing, and the second thing is that um, you shouldn't take everything, every difficulty as negative. Look at the positive and brighter side. As for me, there were two things which were good and which actually made me happy. First was that I got to bunk school for about 15 days, and then I even got summer holidays about 1.5 months. So yes, I got a good break from school and even a good break from family, because for the past 1.5 or 2 years we were locked in one small house, and seeing the same faces every day actually um, tends to distances you from your loved ones. So a break that is not seeing each other for even 10-15 days actually gets you closer to them. So yes, look at the brighter side.
Actually, while Nayantara was answering that, suddenly it reminded me, yeah, she's also a youngster. She's a teenager. Just because she handled COVID, she's not, a grown up. She's still a teenager. The way she said, I got the opportunity to bunk the classes. Yeah, that makes me feel that, yeah, Nayantara is also human. Thank you, Nayantara, for saying that. But yes, I'm sure that's a positive thing that, at your age, that's a big deal, right? You're doing it, you're bunking classes
Yes,
with the blessings of your teachers and your parents. So who gives you
yes.
that? You'll have to sneak out otherwise. So fantastic experience that must have been. Lovely. Okay, so you have a message here. It says, it's Mulchand Botra who says, I like you, I love you, I'm proud of you. I bless you from bottom of my heart for a happy, healthy, and prosperous future. You are very special for me. You are very near to my heart. So I'm sure,
He's our
you.
grandfather.
I know,
Yes,
but
he's our grand.
it feels good, right? So it's a open proclamation to the world how much he loves you. So that should
Yes.
make you feel really good. And your mom says, gratitude. Our little brats have turned into brave, responsible, and strong young ladies. She's a proud parent, obviously.
We are
Nice.
proud children.
Yeah,
We are
Awesome.
like this only because of
our parents.
our parents. That's it.
Nice. Very nice. And I also remember, Shashi, your dad, while he was in the hospital, there was a point when I think the chances were very bleak that he would become all right. Right? So,
Yes.
as a
Yeah.
family, that must have been a terrible jolt to hear that. And I'm sure, apart from everything else, that itself would have been a very scary thing for the two of you. Right. So, how did you deal
Yeah.
with that information? What did you do? I'm like, did dad tell you that he was in bad shape, or he just said, okay, fine, I don't want to scare my girls, and didn't say that at all?
Actually, we didn't know about dad's health condition for about 3 to 4 days because only the doctor actually informed our mom, and dad got to know
Right.
later the next day through the doctor and nurses. But mom actually hid it from us so that we don't maybe fall apart or grow weaker. She
Hmm.
actually did give an example of strength and mental strength, and that you can it's actually really hard to handle such a bad news all alone. So we got to know about 3 to 4 days later when actually dad was reacting well with the medicine, and he was actually getting better. So that's when mom actually told us about it.
Hmm. So in a way, I think not adding information to you that might panic you, but to keep it away from
Yeah.
you, that also would have been a good thing that your mom did. So I don't know, things could have gone any which ways if you had known that things were very bad with your dad, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
almost, I think all of us are really really happy that the whole family has come out of it stronger and better. And there's another lady, our friend Lekha, who says, very proud of the two of you. Your learnings from this experience are worth spreading. Why not start a blog describing it day by day? It may reduce the fear in parents and give coping skills and strategies to children. So, yeah, Lekha, that's one of the reasons why we got these young ladies onto the show, because we thought, instead of us giving the gyan, the girls actually talking about that experience would be really wonderful, because they've been there, done that, and when they say it, we know exactly what it is all about, right? And as for blogging, I think Pooria, you are already a blogger, right? So maybe you can take that up as well.
Definitely, we'll look into it.
Good. And okay, your grandfather again says, coincidence is the key of success, but proudness destroys the life. So be strong. So I think what he's trying to say is, don't get all this get to your head. Be the
Yeah.
Yes.
young girls that you are, right? Awesome. Chelna says, well done, girls. We are proud of you both, Amita and Dev. All right, that's your
Thank
cousins.
you.
Their grandparents again.
Amita and Dev are, but Chelna is your
Y-
cousin, right?
Yeah,
She's
she's
our
mom.
aunt.
Yeah.
Oh, she's Neil's cousin. Okay. She's
Yeah.
within the family. Let's stay,
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
it there. She's within
Family.
the family. Awesome. Do you think there's something that you'd like to share and say, yeah, you know what? This also added to my experience, or the way I responded to the situation.
Or in
Definitely,
terms
I
of
think both of us actually have gotten stronger and braver uh,
Hmm.
since the time we have been to the trek to the Everest Base Camp. Because it was something very new and something very out of the box for us. Uh,
Hmm.
Definitely, we were a little, skeptical about going, but once we were there out in the wild all alone, uh,
Hmm.
and it is such a place that you cannot connect to your family because there's no phones, like there is no connectivity. For 15 days throughout the
Right.
trek, we were in the hills, extreme climates, and walking for such long hours daily, not having any sleep, and the food. When a person is pushed to such extremities, uh, he or she unknowingly builds them up in such a way that yes, they can cope up with anything that life throws at them. So I think that was one major factor for both of us to realize that being strong and facing anything that comes our way with
Right.
utmost strength and confidence, we can overcome it. So I
Nice.
think that was one changing factor for both of us. Major change, at least in me, because she is born fearless, not me.
All right. So I think she reiterated the whole thing by her experience this time, by being fearless,
Yeah.
born fearless rather. Right. So Sabina, the girls are all yours now.
So, do you have anything that you would like to share in terms of a strict no-no that you'd like to, share, Nayantara or Pooria? What were the some things that left you a little uncomfortable with, or you'd like to say, okay, please don't do this if somebody is ill or something? Do you have anything like that?
The first thing is that, from my perspective, is you need to give some sleep and energy, that is rest, to the person who's taking care of the affected. Because I don't blame whoever actually called me and asked me to explain what happened, like detail in detail. So it's just
Hmm.
that because of the calls and the continuous messages,
Mm-hmm.
excluding the family,
Mm-hmm.
but it actually reduced the amount of sleep I got, and it actually decreased and increased my stress. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they should actually, if they call also, people you call to the families or the people who have affected, they should not panic and straight away go to the point that how could this happen to you, how you got affected,
Yeah,
and like, but
So it's more
stop
like
blaming
curiosity.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
you just,
curiosity
yeah,
and speculation. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
absolutely.
you should
Yes.
rather be bold, or be uh, honest, or you should be uh, happy about it, like make them feel happy about something, rather than them being positive or them being in a situation like I was.
Right. So I
Right.
think what you're trying to say is that people need to be a little sensitive to the fact that
Yeah.
there is a family who needs that kind of time, whether it's a death in the family or whether people are affected with a serious illness. Constant calls and messages add pressure. If you're able to help, maybe to a certain extent, or just leave a message
Yeah.
and just wait for them to respond in their time, that's a very nice message, Nantara. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. We'll keep that in mind as
Yeah.
well.
In fact, I also would have wanted to add one more thing is that, there's so much of doomsday theories that keep floating on WhatsApp or the news items or whatever. I think that would be another strict no-no for anybody for that matter. It doesn't matter whether you're one of the affected ones or the caregiver. Stay away from this,
Right.
because there's so much of negativity that is being spread. And what Nantara said was very, very true. People keep calling you up, and they kind of put that kind of a fear in you, or some sort of a pressure that you're not able to think positive at all. It's hard enough to channelize your own inner positivity, and then in the face of all these people calling you up and psyching you up some more, aise kaise ho gaya, how are you dealing with it, oh my god, dad also fell sick, mom also fell sick. So I can imagine how terrible it must be to go through that situation. So I think what Nantara said is very true. As somebody who's concerned about whoever, whether it's the family or friends, even if you know that they're unwell, stop asking these drastic questions. Just say, hey, we're all there with you. That should be good enough to convey to the people. We're there with you. Just let us know if you need anything. And maybe
Right.
during the course of the conversation, say, how are things? Is everything under control? instead of trying to get too much of information, it's like, reliving the tension all over again. You just kind of stepped out of it, and again they're taking you back to relive that moment again. So that's a fantastic point that you've mentioned, Nantara. Very good. I think that's a message for everybody. Naveen Kumar Godha says, we are very proud of our granddaughters who tackle the difficult situation very well. With love, our mama and tata.
How sweet. Pooria, anything
Right.
from you as a strict no-no, or you don't have any no-nos?
As the one affected with the virus, I'd say do not think about it or not succumb to this virus that can affect you, because it's all in the mind. It is one
Right.
thing that I've realized is COVID. There is no in between. There is
Mm,
either you give into it or
Mm.
you tell it that,
fine.
okay, yeah, you can be at your place. I'm going to get out of it. So it's just not giving into it, because the minute you
Yeah.
do, it takes you down.
Fine. That's a very strong
Right.
message. Thank you, Pooria, for
Yes.
sharing. Yeah.
I think, yeah, you can't reiterate enough that it's actually a mind game. It's either
Yes,
you
it is.
succumb to it and fall
Yeah,
apart, or you be strong and say, hey, you know what? You listen to me. I don't have to listen to
yeah.
you. Fantastic.
Right.
That was really nice, Puriya. Right.
Thank you. Thank you for those bits and sharing your stories, both of you. So, Suma, if there are some questions that you want to take, are there any comments, questions that you like to
I'm just going
post?
through them, Sabina. There aren't
Okay.
any.
So, in the
Other than
meantime,
all the good things about the girls as to how fantastic and wonderful they are, there aren't any questions.
okay, so congratulations to both of you, Pooria and Nayantara, for taking this opportunity to share this with us, because very few people, open up and share their experiences. But we've learned so much with what you shared. And I'll just like to share what this initiative is all about. Once again, for those of you who joined us late, so Unbox is a youth empowerment initiative. It's to get the youth to share their stories and take a leaf or two from their stories as well to and get inspired by. And it's to help elevate themselves and reduce their stress, and eventually hoping that it prevents suicide. So that's the mission of Unbox. And we are a part of the LND Global Hyderabad Chapter in Hyderabad, of course. Okay, so that's the bit on Unbox and LND Global. So,
Right.
Suma, did you get some questions or
There are no questions,
today?
Sabina. However, Lekha says, I think she's very appreciative of what Puriya said, that it's a mind game and you need to, win over it than succumb to it. So I think, yeah, Lekha, I think your encouragement and your good words will really, encourage the girls and make them feel good. Ashish says, well done, girls. Proud of both of you. Awesome. I think before we actually close the session, thank you so much, Pooria and Nantara, for coming and sharing your experience with us, because although we have been talking about it, but in spite of it, I think today's session, it has been an eye opener at different levels for different people, right? So I have always believed that you can learn. Age is not a factor. Even the toddlers can teach you some lessons or the other, and so I have always
Absolutely.
been of that perspective, and you have proved it again, that there's so much for each of us to learn from your experiences and what you did to fight the epidemic or the pandemic and get out of it. So that's fantastic. And what I would like to possibly sum it up is, being positive is the crux of the matter. That's what both of you have been reiterating over and over again. So being positive and not falling into the trap of negativity. Fight with all your might, and also take the support of people who are around you, whether it be your neighbors or your families or whatever, and make sure that mentally you're strong enough to withstand whatever is coming your way. So that's a fantastic thing. And once again, I'd like to tell the parents who are listening to us, do not underestimate your children, because you'd be surprised how resilient they can be and how they can step up to any challenge and then come out of it on tops. So give the children, and moreover, it's not the children that you're giving credit to, you are giving yourself the credit of being the kind of parent who taught them to be able to stand up on their own. So it's also a reflection about you. So before we sum up, I think I'd also like to tell Shashi and Purya, who are Nayantara and Shashi and Purvi rather, who are Nayantara and Puria's mom and dad, proud of you to have brought up the girls the way you did. So if only all the other parents also took a leaf out of your parenting, I think all the kids would be on top of things at all times. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I just want to
Absolutely.
interrupt here. I mean,
Yes, please.
since you're thanking my parents, I'd actually want to mention two more people to whom we are very grateful for. Is I think the last comment, Ashish Chaudhary and his
Yeah.
wife, who are our aunt and uncle.
Okay.
They were a major help for all of us. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
She
I
was the
think
one who actually cooked for
cooked food for
about 11,
us
12
every
days
day.
for us and
And
send it through the
yeah, I
driver.
think we need more
Awesome.
people like them. I think they were very helpful, and it was just like it's good to have someone without asking for it, and they have always been there. So I think I think people should learn, like just to be there when needed and not ask.
Hmm.
That's so nice. I think
That
that's a learning also for
Yeah.
all of us. I mean, since you're appreciating your uncle and aunt and for what they did, it might seem very small, just cooking and sending, but when you have so much of gratitude for something like that, I think many of us can take that on and not ask questions unnecessarily, but do something to help the family who's going through a tough situation. Thank you so much, Nantara and Pooria.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. And
Thank
Ritu
you.
says, love you both. That's the aunt who stepped up to say
Oh,
thank you.
Yes, she did.
we'll
And we
Yeah,
remember you.
love both
We
of them
learned
too.
something from you too, Ritu. Thank you.
absolutely. So fantastic, girls. And thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And you have made us feel so proud of you and just to know you also. Although, and we haven't met you, we've just spoken to you, but then we are really proud of you. And I think the last comment is from your mom. Thank you, Suma and Sabina. Thank you, Purvi and Shashi, for letting us, accost your girls and put them here in the spotlight.
Yes, yes, we
I'm
really
sure it
appreciate.
wasn't easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
so thank you very much for agreeing to have, let us have the girls on the show with us. Thank you.
absolutely.
And any, last thoughts that any one of you would like to share before we call it
And
a day?
a big thank you to all the viewers also who had joined in for
Yes.
sharing their comments. Vandana and I think Lekha has also shared. Basil has also shared.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Bama, thank you, Bama.
Yes. Bama is also here. She says, awesome. And I'm sure she's not saying that to you and me, Sabina. It must be for the girls. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Awesome.
so I hope that our viewers have taken a leaf or two from your experiences and we've taken our inspiration, and that's what we hope to do through these sessions that we're having. And anything that you'd like to hear, any topics that you might have on your mind, do post your comments, and we'll see if we can have the next chat show around those topics.
Okay. So I
So it's a
think
bye.
it's a bye from us. Before we say that, I think each one of you can go on to our Unbox page on Facebook and like us, so that every time we're having another show and we have some amazing people coming on the show, you'll all get to know about it, and you can also participate in that. So it'll be really nice to have that. And if there is anything specific that you think that you would like to listen to, please let us know, and we'll get the right kind of people who can come and give you the right kind of inputs on whatever it is that you want to know about. And I think just before we say bye, we'll take up Bama's comment. She says, it's for all of you awesome people, including Riaz. So I think, yeah, it's a pat on the back for all five of us. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Bama. All right. So here we call it a day. And thank you very much, everybody who joined in on the show with us. And thank you, girls, once again. So it's a good
Thank
night,
Thank
you.
and
you.
take care from all of us.
Good night.
So,
Good night,
Good
everybody.
so
night.
yes.
See
So
you.
bye
Thank you.
bye.
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 Bye. Bye.